A detailed planning guide for Oahu, Hawaii. I'm Chris, this is Yellow Productions. I do travel guides that are fun, informative, entertaining, and in this detailed seminar-style video, I'm going to be sharing with you answers to some common questions I frequently get about visiting Oahu. Things like, Chris, where should I stay? Where should I go? What should I eat? What should I do? Do I need to get in a rental car? How long should I stay for? And then after answering some of those questions, I'm going to take you on a neighborhood guide of Oahu. We'll start in Waikiki and we'll work our way clockwise around the island to talk about all the things you could see and do to help you plan your future vacation. And so, first of all, let's just go ahead and take a look at Oahu right here. So, Oahu is Hawaii's most populated island. There's just about 1 million people that live on Oahu, and it's quite big. It's 44 miles one direction and 30 miles in the other. The shoreline, if you were to go around the whole shoreline, is 227 miles. So even though it's an island, you can't do it all in one visit. And so in this video, we're going to talk about the things you definitely should do, or the things you don't want to do, but we're going to talk about all the different possibilities. So the first question people often ask is, where should you stay when you go to Oahu? And most visitors stay down here in Waikiki. Waikiki Beach is this little strip of man-made peninsula right here. This is Waikiki, and let me see right there, it says Waikiki, and 70% of the visitors to Hawaii spend the night in Waikiki. Not 70% of Oahu, 70% of all the visitors to all of Hawaii are in Waikiki. It is full of hotels. It has a nice little beach that's on there. Now, when we think about Waikiki, Waikiki is part of the city of Honolulu, which is then on Oahu. So that's the breakdown. Now, in Waikiki, some of my favorite hotels that are here, I got a few pictures of them to share with you. One of them is the Westin Moana Surfrider Hotel. This is the original hotel in Waikiki. It's been renovated since then, but I love the old classic feel of this hotel. And if you've got access to the lounge has really great views of the beach. This is the breakfast I had at the Westin Moana Surfrider Lounge that looks right on the beach. There's glass there between my plates and the sand, but that's a nice view to wake up to every morning. My second favorite hotel in Waikiki is the Sheraton right on the beach. There's two Sheratons, one a little bit inland, one that's right on the beach. I like this one because you got a lot of almost all the rooms have balconies, great ocean views. I should point out there is no sand in front of this hotel. Directly, you have to go either side to get to the beach. I also really like the Marriott Waikiki. It's that one that I've got the yellow arrow pointed at. There's got two towers, the ocean tower and the bigger tower in the back. That one's right near Diamond Head. We're going to talk about Diamond Head a bit. And finally, my fourth suggestion for going to Waikiki is the Hilton Hawaiian Village, which is like this mega resort in Waikiki. It's famous for their rainbow tower right there that has that rainbow on it and lagoon. There are fireworks at the Hilton Hawaiian Village every Friday night. Now, some other places you might want to stay on Oahu that aren't Waikiki, because you don't just have to stay in Waikiki, although most people, I feel like, think that because that's where everybody stays. Another area where you might want to consider staying is in Koalina. Koalina is over here in this corner of the island, and Koalina is famous for their 4 man-made lagoons. They're man-made, but they look pretty neat. And if we take a look at what one of those lagoons looks like, this is lagoon number 1. On this lagoon, there's the Four Seasons, which is the building in the white. If you don't like a whole bunch of kids around, you might want to consider staying at that hotel. If you like kids or you have kids, you might consider staying at the Disney Aulani Hotel. That's the brown hotel over on the right of this picture. Also, a couple of these other lagoons are home to some other timeshare type hotels you can book as a hotel, the Marriott Vacation Club, and then lagoon number 4. There's just parking in a big parking lot in front of lagoon number 4. But I really like Koalina because it's not as busy or not as crazy as Waikiki. You can see it's much more relaxed. Waikiki is really busy since that's where everybody stays. I like to think of Waikiki almost as like the Las Vegas the Las Vegas by the sea or something like that. So you're not going to have a lot of sand to yourself in Waikiki. Another area you might consider staying on Oahu, if we zoom out here, is on the north shore of Oahu. If we go up here, this is the north shore. And in particular, there's a couple hotels up here. There's Turtle Bay, and then there's a Courtyard Hotel. But if I were to pick one of those two, I would pick the Turtle Bay we look at on there. It's on this little peninsula, and it's got this fairly private-ish section of beach. So that's a cool hotel on the North Shore. North Shore is also even more relaxed and tranquil than Koalina because there's actually very few hotels over on the North Shore. And then finally, people might often ask, well, Chris, what about the rest of the island? Well, there's not a whole lot of hotels on the rest of the island. Those 3 areas are where you'll find the big hotels. We'll talk more about this part of Oahu and this part as we go around. You might find some Airbnbs or things like that, but not a bunch of hotels. Now, a question that I also often get is, Chris, how long should I stay when I go to Oahu? And I recommend no less than 4 days. Many people try to pack too much Hawaii and too many islands into too short of a trip. If you're hopping islands, no less than 4 days per island because you spend basically a whole day coming in and a whole day going out. If it's your first time, I would actually recommend 7 days on Oahu, and I would recommend that you split your trip up. You spend 3 or 4 nights in Waikiki and then 3 or 4 nights in Koalina or on the North Shore, so that you get a little bit of both. You get a little bit of the hustle and bustle of Waikiki, and then you get a little bit of the tranquil Hawaii, Koalina, or the North Shore. Pick6 says, if you stay at Waikiki, you can get by with bus if car rental is expensive. Indeed, we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the rental car section because I've got some more insights on that too. MT says, I love the shirt, Chris. I figured it was my Hawaiian Aloha appropriate shirt. If you also haven't noticed in the background, we've got some Hawaiian leis on some of our pandas in the background. So they dressed up for the occasion today. Kathy says, I'd love to stay at Turtle Bay. And I haven't stayed there, but I've had friends that have stayed there, and they've really enjoyed it. Carlos asks if Topher's been to Waikiki. He sure has. I should have put some pictures of Topher in Waikiki, but he will also be going there again soon. And Don asks if the Hilton Hawaiian Village has a lot of noise from people. If you're on like the lower floors, it could because it's pretty busy. I usually end up in the top of tower on like the 30-something floor, and it's been pretty quiet for me staying there. All right. And hello from Hawaii. Chris at Hello from Hawaii, who is a local in Hawaii, says Turtle Bay is nice. I think they just renovated. And thank you for joining us. Aloha in the stream today. Meta asks, what are my thoughts on Kualoa Ranch? I've actually never been there. I probably don't do those more like horseback riding and those sorts of things part of Hawaii just because that's generally not why I go there. But if anybody else has any thoughts on Kualoa Ranch, please let a fellow explorer know. All right, so now I want to talk about, do you need a rental car? And we've heard a lot of people say, I've heard rental cars are super expensive. Consider using Lucky Owl for car rental, and that there's also trolleys. So if you're staying in Waikiki and you're fine with like group tours, taking the bus, public transportation, Uber, Lyft, taxi, you can absolutely get around Waikiki, downtown Honolulu with public transportation. If you want to head over to places like the North Shore, if you want to head over to Hanauma Bay, which we're going to get to when we get to the neighborhood guide, you will want a car for those days. You might want to consider getting a car only for those days. So rental cars are expensive. Parking is expensive in Waikiki. So you might want to consider, if you're staying in Waikiki, just taking a taxi or Uber from the airport into Waikiki, spending a couple days around there, and then getting a rental car from your hotel. Most of the big hotels in Waikiki have rental cars on site, or picking up a rental car just for the last couple days of your vacation. That way you're not having to pay for the rental car and pay for the parking on the days you don't use it. If you're in Koalina or the North Shore, you definitely need a rental car. Me, in particular, I get a rental car for the whole time that I'm in Oahu. Yes, it costs a little bit more, and the parking costs $50 a day in Waikiki, but we generally like to kind of go far in afield, and we've been there a lot of times, and so we generally don't just stay in Waikiki. Kathy says the Jurassic tour at Kualoa Ranch would be amazing. And Christian says the ATV tour is totally worth it. Well, Christian, I might have to put that on my list of things to do in the future. Jack wants to know if they have the Enchanted Tiki Room there. One of my favorite attractions at Disneyland. I have yet to find the Enchanted Tiki Room there. We also have Mimi 3000 on from Oahu as well. Thanks for joining in, Mimi. Would love to hear your insights on some of the questions that people are asking as we go through. And Words of Wisdom 76 says, rental most definitely needed for sightseeing. Absolutely. If you want to see Oahu's best sights, you will need a rental car to get to them. And the thing to think about related to Uber and Lyft is some of the sites are remote, and so you're actually not going to have good cell connectivity there. So if you go to some of these remote sites and you don't have a rental car, and you Ubered there, you might not be able to get back because you won't be able to call one if you don't actually have cell phone service. All right. The next question I often get is, Chris, where should I go to stock up on supplies on Oahu? Because everybody's heard groceries are super expensive, milk is super expensive, so where should you go to get your necessities? And I have 4 recommendations. My first recommendation, if you are a Costco member, is actually to go to Costco. There are a few Costcos on island on Oahu, and you can stock up on cheap water, cheap supplies if you're going to be there for a while. If you're looking to pick up an Aloha shirt, some Hawaiian local attire, Costco is one of the best places to get Aloha attire. They always have them there, and the prices are pretty good. Actually, my thumbnail picture for this video, I got that Aloha shirt at the Costco on Oahu. Now, there's a bunch of supermarkets on Oahu. My favorite is Foodland, and Foodland, they have a ton of locations, but we'll talk about my favorite, which is at Ala Moana, coming up when we get to the Ala Moana section. Now, if I have one singular favorite place to go to stock up on supplies that I try to go to every time I go to Oahu is Don Quixote. Don Quixote, it is like a Japanese version of Walmart. It is a mega store that's a supermarket plus an everything store. They've got really good regular food. They've got really good Japanese snacks. They've got really good Hawaiian snacks. If you want to get like a made-in-Japan rice cooker, they've got those too. Actually, our rice cooker on the counter here came from Don Quixote, and it was one of those models that was only for sale in Japan, but they also had it there because Don Quixote is a Japanese chain. And this is kind of what it looks like inside Don Quixote. Super colorful, super crazy store. It's just kind of a neat experience just to go to the store, even if you don't buy anything. But if you're looking for souvenirs, that's a good place to go as well. And the final place that you really might, well, not you might, that you need to know as a tourist is about the ABC stores. The ABC stores are the quintessential everything a tourist needs convenience store. Think of a 7-Eleven specifically designed for tourists. So they have all the convenience food and snacks, but they also have beach towels, Aloha attire, boogie boards, sunscreen. And there's one in Waikiki like every block. I'm not even making that up. There's an ABC store every block in Waikiki, and so you won't be far from one. If you're staying in Koalina, there's, it's called the Island Market. It's still an ABC store, just with a different name. Now, everybody asks, what is Chris drinking today? I've been talking enough that now I need to drink. And today, I'm drinking this, which I got at Whole Foods. This is a strawberry lemon prebiotic soda. What's in this strawberry lemon prebiotic soda? It's got apple cider vinegar and some other things to make for a healthy gut. I just liked the yellow strawberry that it had on it. And it's bubbly. It's kind of tasty. And it's not too lemony. And let's hit the road, Jack. Love that picture of the ABC store. Actually, that one was on the island of Guam, which is where that USA Gun Club was. There's ABC stores in a lot of the Pacific, Guam, Hawaii, other Hawaiian islands. All right. Bieko says, happy Aloha Tuesday. Happy Aloha Tuesday to you as well. And Rhonda also says they have ABCs in Las Vegas, too. Las Vegas being the 9th island, of course, they have ABC stores there as well. Hello from Hawaii says, great recommendations. I would also check out Target and Long's. Those are great suggestions as well. Long's Drugs is the local pharmacy, but it's got more than just a drugstore. They have great food sections, they have great snack sections, and they've got great souvenir sections as well. And Jake says, you couldn't avoid the ABC store even if you want to, because they are everywhere. They are everywhere. And Christian gives a pro parking tip in Waikiki. If you're looking to park your car and you don't need to park it at your hotel, check out the Waikiki Banyan Hotel, $80 for a week. Great tip, Christian, especially if you're paying $40 or $50 for one night. That is a good tip. Randy wants to know if I've been to the Aulani Hotel. I have been to it. I've purchased things from the gift shop. I have not spent the night there. Pick 6 agrees on Don Quixote. A lot of people do. So does Mimi 3000. Mimi also said there is a Sam's Club and a Walmart too. There are. So if you're with the other big super warehouse chain, Sam's Club, you'll find those as well. And I'll show you where the closest Sam's Club is to Waikiki when we go through the neighborhood guide. Now, the last kind of big question I want to get to before I take you around the island is where to eat. Everybody asks me, Chris, where should I eat? And so the first thing I want to say is I've actually got a whole video about this topic, particularly in Waikiki, called The Best Cheap Eats in Waikiki, so you can check that out. But I want to give you just a few high-level places that you'll find maybe multiple locations across Oahu. And so the first one is Zippy's. Zippy's is a Hawaiian chain. You could kind of think of it as a Hawaiian version of Denny's. Most Zippy's have 3 sections to them. They'll have a sit-down section where you order from waiters. They'll have a fast food section that's like counter service with a few tables, and then they often have a bakery. I like the counter service section. Zippy's is most famous for their zip packs, their boxed plate lunches, where you can get some of their famous chili. Their spaghetti is really popular. The macaroni salad, rice, fried chicken, spam, teriyaki beef, all really good, solid things to get at Zippy's. If I've got a first place that I stop, generally when I land in Oahu, it is Zippy's. And if I don't get it when I first hop in, then I'll get it on my way out, on my way to the airport. The next kind of Hawaiian island chain you might be interested in is Teddy's. Teddy's is a burger chain, and it's called Teddy's Bigger Burgers. I'm a big fan of In-N-Out Burger, but I really like Teddy's. I get it every time I go to Oahu. In particular, I like getting my Teddy's burger with grilled pineapple, peanut butter, and Cajun seasoning on it. There's not many places you can get a burger with grilled pineapple, particularly one that's sweet, and it is true that the pineapples are better in Hawaii. They are sweeter, so enjoy the sweet pineapple on the burger in a place that you can get it. And there are a few people that said Zippy's didn't look all that good. Maybe it was just the poor picture that I grabbed off their website. But Mimi says their fried chicken is really good. Zippy's is pretty good, pretty solid food. Jake wants to know where you go for the best luau. I really like the Polynesian Cultural Center. I like their nighttime show. That's my favorite place for, you can do a luau and the nighttime show both at the Polynesian Cultural Center. So that's my favorite. If you want a Korean-inspired Hawaiian plate lunch, the Hawaiian plate lunch is like the quintessential thing to get in Hawaii, right? You get a plate, generally has 2 scoops of rice, some mac salad, and some meats. But there's this chain called Yummy Korean Barbecue, and I think about Yummy Korean Barbecue essentially as the Panda Express for Korean barbecue. So they're generally in food courts. They have the steam table. You build this plate of Korean barbecue plus some Korean sides. You take a look at the left. That's what one of their plates looked like. This is probably the kalbi, or maybe it was the bulgogi. In there, some bean sprouts, some japchae, which are Korean noodles. And then you can see on the right, those are all the different sides, the Korean sides that you can get to put in your yummy Korean barbecue. And finally, actually, this one I'm going to get to. I'm going to get to this one when I get to the neighborhood section. So we're going to pop out of that for a second. And before I start taking you around all the different neighborhoods, we'll do a few questions and comments, and then we'll start going around the island. Ranzan wants to know, are resorts expensive or affordable? Hawaii is just expensive. Any way you slice it, it's not going to be a cheap place. Autumn Breeze says, if I didn't have to go to work, I'd gladly join this stream. Well, you can always come back for the archive. Thanks for popping in. There's no In-N-Out Burger on Oahu, unfortunately. And Ilford liked the peanut butter Teddies. Escaping the Empty Nest says, we like Teddies, so there's another second for Teddies. And One Sano says, Zippy's is opening in Las Vegas. They sure are. They've purchased some land in Vegas. They were going to open like this year, but the pandemic kind of caused them to delay. And Wow says, oh, this is making me miss Oahu. Can't wait to visit when the restrictions lift. I'm sure there's going to be tons of people visiting Hawaii as soon as the COVID testing requirements go away and as soon as the mask requirements go away. But currently, if you're planning to go to Oahu, you still need to get a COVID-19 negative test 3 days before you go, and they still have a face mask restriction in place. One of the 3 states that still have face mask restrictions in the U.S., New York, California, and Oahu. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into the neighborhood guide now. So I'm gonna bring up Google Earth again, and we're gonna head into Waikiki here. We're gonna head into this peninsula in the south that is Waikiki, and talk about what there is to kind of see, eat, and do in Waikiki. So first of all, there's a ton to do in Waikiki. You could go to Hawaii for a week and spend a week in Waikiki and never leave it. I've been to Waikiki for conferences for like 5 days and never left Waikiki on my stay because I've gone there without rental car and just been there and just walked around, and it's been all good. Now, let's first start with the beach. This strip of sand, this is the beach in Waikiki. My favorite part of the beach is this part of the beach right here. This is called Kuhio Beach Park. This is in front of the Marriott. The Marriott Hotel is right here. I like this part of Waikiki Beach because it's got this seawall, so it's nice and protected from the waves for swimming. It's basically like an ocean swimming pool. So when I go to swim in Waikiki, I go swim in that section. Also, because it's protected from the rest of the water, it's a bit warmer. The water's warmer when you swim there. Now, the beach that's just north up here, this is the Westin Moana Surfrider that I talked about. The beach that's in front of here and over this way, this is the most popular, busy section of beach. I'd say this is where the cool people hang out, but you're going to be like elbow to elbow with people if you're on the sand. This was the Sheraton that I showed you earlier that has no sand in front of it because the sand's been eroded on Waikiki. And then when we go to the north, this is the Halikoa Hotel. If you're military affiliated, active military, retired military, you can get some really good deals on this military-owned hotel here. And then this very large complex, this is the Hilton Hawaiian Village, like 6, 7 towers. But the widest part of Waikiki Beach is this section of beach. So if you're looking for an area to kind of get away from people, you can check out this area in front of the Hilton Hawaiian Village or the area in front of the Halikoa. Ankin says the reason why the water is warmer there at the Kuhio Beach Park is because all the kitties are peeing there. Thank you for that image there, Ankin. All right. Okay, so now some other things you should do while you're in Waikiki is just walk down the main street. This is the main street of Waikiki. It's like 1 block from the beach for most of it, and I mentioned this is like the Las Vegas Strip of Hawaii. It's just great to walk up and down. There's torch lights, there's street performers, there's entertainers, so definitely spend some time doing that. There's a few really neat shopping malls. One of my favorites is the Royal Hawaiian Center, which is kind of here in the center. This is the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. It's just kind of on the street from the Royal Hawaiian Hotel. They've got a pretty good food court in the Royal Hawaiian Center, and they also have Tim Ho Wan, which is a really good dim sum place from Hong Kong. So usually on my stay in Waikiki, I will eat at Tim Ho Wan at one point in time. They serve dim sum all day, all night. I mean, they're not open 24/7, but you can get dim sum for dinner at like 7 o'clock because it's all order off the counter. Now, there's also the International Marketplace, which is actually right across from the Royal Hawaiian Center, which is a new shopping mall. Let's see. Can we pull up a picture, maybe? Does that work? Yeah. A new shopping mall that was built here on kind of a former, like, swap meet type place. A lot of people really sad for the old International Marketplace to leave, but something a lot of people don't know about is there's a really good Japanese supermarket in the back of it. There's a Mitsuwa supermarket back there, so if you're looking for groceries in Waikiki, I'd encourage you to check out Mitsuwa in the back on it's either the second or third floor of the International Marketplace. Also shopping, the Hilton Hawaiian Village we talked about earlier has some neat shops that are in there. And then at the south end of Waikiki, if you like animals or you've got kiddos that like animals, this whole green section back here, this is the Honolulu Zoo, so you can check out the zoo. Now, speaking of things to eat, I showed this picture earlier. I've got just 4 tips I want to give you about place to eat in Waikiki. Want to see more? Watch my Waikiki Cheap Eats video. But the first one is this one, and this is Tonkatsu Ginza Byron. If you want the spelling or things like that, go find my Cheap Eats video. I've got it in the description. You'll find it there. But this is a katsu place that is the best katsudon, or fried breaded pork with egg on top on rice and sauce that I've had in the U.S., period, flat out. And it's another one that I try to hit this up every time I'm in Oahu. Right across the street from Tonkatsu Ginza Byron is Henry's Place in this really unassuming apartment building. If you didn't know to go in this place, you wouldn't, but they serve really delicious Hawaiian fruit-style ice creams like mango ice cream, mango sorbet. It's in those little like liquor store looking freezers in there. It comes in a styrofoam cup where they just write the flavor on with a Sharpie marker of like $5, but super good. Don't miss that out if you like ice cream. If you like noodles, probably the busiest place for noodles, and you'll see a big line out the door, is Marugame Udon in the center of Waikiki. It's kind of like cafeteria-style Japanese noodles. You slide your tray down. You tell them what you want as you go by. They've also got little tempura pieces, and it's pretty cheap and pretty filling. And then finally, if you're looking for a place that's, some people ask me about, like upscale, the restaurants at the Westin Moana Surfrider are pretty good. That's the restaurant there on the left. Great views. The kind of cool place to hang out is the central bar at the Westin Moana Surfrider. It is under the banyan tree that you see there in the back. They've always got live entertainment, ocean views, ocean breezes. So those are my 4 suggestions of where to eat in Waikiki. Lashana says Marugame Udon is my favorite. Thanks for that tip, Lashana. Wonton Destruction says the lady at the ice cream place is very rude. They get a lot of tourists. It's cash only, all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. Escaping the empty nest is if you call ahead at Marugame, you get to skip the line. That's cool. What do you call ahead and tell them? I'm curious. Kevbot suggests a stuffed French toast at Royal Hawaiian. Thank you for that tip. I haven't had it. Mimi 3000s recommends Waikiki Yokocho. That's the one that's like, it's like that one's in the basement of the like the duty free stores. Or it's in the basement of something, right? Where there's a whole ton of Japanese restaurants. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know I've been in it. I'm just trying to actually place it. And Raymond asks about that as well. That's a great tip. It just didn't make my top 4. The Uniplex asks if it's a safe place you would walk around after dark. I think so. Well, I shouldn't say I think so. I would absolutely walk around Waikiki after dark. I consider it a safe place. There is a local vagrant homeless population that lives on the streets in Waikiki, so there are a bit of aggressive beggars. You'll see them all the time with any tourist destination, like watch your stuff. I've heard people maybe feeling uncomfortable like 4 a.m. walking around Waikiki, but I don't really walk around Waikiki at 4 a.m. Joe Masks says you no longer need to wear masks outside, just announced today. That is really great news. Thank you for that update, Joe Masks. And Jake asked if there's a good place for shave ice in Waikiki. I don't know of one, actually. And so I'd be curious, Mimi 3000, Chris, aloha from Hawaii. Do you have any favorite shave ice places in Waikiki? Can you help a fellow explorer out? Oh, and Lorraine says the cheesecake at Uncle Tetsu is good, which is in the Royal Hawaiian Center that I talked about in the food court. There's this place called Uncle Tetsu. It is a Japanese cheesecake chain, which it is pretty good. We've got some here in California as well. OC Girl and I went to Torrance, California to pick up some Uncle Tetsu just 2 weeks ago. All right. Okay, so let's talk about some things that are Waikiki adjacent now, and then we're gonna move off Waikiki. We got a lot to talk about in Waikiki because there's just everything here. So zooming out a little bit, right next to Waikiki is this volcanic crater called Diamond Head. The quintessential hike to do on Oahu is to hike Diamond Head. So you drive into this crater, you come in, there's like a tunnel that goes through here, you park in the center or you take a taxi, and then from the parking lot, there's a trail that walks you up to the ridge right up here. And if you want to see what that looks like, if you're actually up there, that is what it looks like. That's the view from Diamond Head. If you're in shape and it's a cool day, you're an avid hiker, you can probably go from the bottom to the top in 20 minutes. If you're not an avid hiker or you're not in super great shape, it can take you 45 minutes because it's hot and humid and it's kind of steep, and so don't underestimate the heat and humidity in Hawaii if you're not used to hot and humid temperatures. Okay, we're going to come back to that one. And we're going to go back here, and we're going to go the other direction, which is Waikiki adjacent the other way. So this Diamond Head was to the south. To the north of Waikiki, right up here, is Ala Moana. Ala Moana is Oahu's and Hawaii's #1 shopping center. #1 in terms of size, #1 in terms of upscaleness, #1 in terms of things to eat. Ala Moana is really pretty cool, so if you go to Oahu, you need to go to Ala Moana. When the train is built in Oahu, it's going to come to Ala Moana. And in Ala Moana, I love the food court, and there's a picture of the food court. It's also one of my stops. Like, on my way into Oahu, usually get a rental car. I usually stop at Ala Moana. I head into the food court. I go to Blue Water Seafood, and I get the garlic shrimp, which you see right here, which is pretty solid garlic shrimp. Pro tip, soy sauce you get in Hawaii, if you see it there next to my Pepsi cup, should be Aloha Shoyu. Aloha Shoyu soy sauce. That's the good Hawaiian soy sauce. It tastes differently than Kikkoman or these non-Hawaiian soy sauces. And then after eating that, I go to Foodland, which is also in the same shopping center, and I pick up my provisions. Foodland also has a lot of great souvenirs, so if you're looking for souvenirs, you can even do that shopping all right there. Okay, now let's go ahead and continue from Ala Moana. Oh, by the way, if you're looking for a beach that's a little bit more laid back than Waikiki, and even if you're in Waikiki, you can visit this one. There's the Ala Moana Beach Park, which is right in front of the Ala Moana shopping center that you've got right there. Oh, and I had a story to tell you about Ala Moana, which was to be careful of the escalators because after a visit to Ala Moana, this was a picture I took on the left of the ambulance that I was in, and on the right, the picture at the Kaiser emergency room down there in the basement, because I was wearing sandals and socks like that, and I misstepped when I went on the escalator, and I don't know, they must like sharpen those things up with a sharpening blade or something like that, but the escalator step was so sharp that it sliced my toe right open. So be careful of those Ala Moana escalators. Okay, so behind Ala Moana, back over here, you'll also find a Walmart and a Sam's Club, and Don Quixote that I talked about is just about over here. So if you're looking for another place to stop on the way in, all those are just like on your way into Waikiki. Now, heading more north, there's a shopping center along here called Ward Village, Ward Center. It's more locals oriented. And then let's go ahead and search this in. There's the Iolani Palace, which is Hawaii's royal palace, right up here. This is now a museum. but you can check out some of Hawaii's royal history before it was part of the U.S. here at Iolani Palace. And then over here, there's this place called, is it Aloha Tower? Aloha Tower right here. You can see this tower. This is a 10-story old lighthouse from the 1920s during non-COVID times. You can climb up it and get some neat views from Aloha Tower. And then back over this way here, we're gonna search for this so we get the exact right place, is Chinatown. If you're looking for some of the best, cheapest, and kind of most local eats, check out Honolulu Chinatown. This is the spot for good, tasty, cheap Asian eats. In particular, visit some of like the side markets and alleys. Get the fresh squeezed or fresh pressed sugarcane juice. That's really good. You'll find good dim sum, good noodles, good dumplings. Now, if you're more into pastries, and I saw this in the chat earlier, there's a spot called Lillyha Bakery. They've got 2 locations, but there's one that's right near where we're talking about right here, which is Lillyha Bakery on Nimitz Highway. I mean, American-style pastries, but they're like American-style with a Hawaiian twist to them, so a lot of guava filling, passion fruit, so check that out. And I recommend this one because if you're driving into Waikiki from Honolulu Airport, chances are you might be coming along the Nimitz Highway, which is the road that runs the coast, and so you can stop into this place on your way in or on your way out. And then there's also a Costco right around here as well. All right, so now that we've covered Waikiki, Waikiki adjacent, and downtown Honolulu, I want to get into things that are around Pearl Harbor, but before I do that, let's go and hit up some of the comments in the chat. Carlos says, if you're enjoying this live stream, please like it, help Chris out. Thank you, Carlos. There's 187 of you on with 80 likes. We've got 100 more likes to go, so please give it a thumbs up. I would appreciate it. Chris points out to be careful in Chinatown. Yeah, if there's one place that you probably need to watch out, particularly at night, it is Chinatown. And Chris says, Lillyha Bakery is also in Moana, so close to Waikiki. Hey, thanks for that tip. I've not been to that location yet, so I'll check it out when we go on our next visit. And Jenny Fide says, guava and passion fruit, my favorites. Yeah, and a lot of people about my escalator thing say like, oh, socks with sandals, but wear closed-toe shoes for sure. And Young Koom says, pro tip when in Hawaii, don't wear socks with sandals. Just know I wear socks with sandals all the time. So actually that day I just got off the airplane. I had my socks with sandals. I wear them on the plane because otherwise my feet get all yucky on the plane and sweaty, and the socks help absorb some of the sweat. There's probably too much about me and my sweaty toes. All right. And let's see. Some more people commenting about just lifted an outdoor mask mandate. Thank you for that, Beth. And MXP says, Moana is overpriced, local stay away with the exception of the Mai Tai bar on the 5th level. I don't want to argue the locals' perspective. Moana definitely used to be more of a locals mall and is now more of a tourist mall. But as tourists, I think it's a great place to go to. Zinstov says, in particular, the Shirokiya Japanese Walk. It's a food court. Shirokiya spelled like that. It's a food court just of Japanese food. It's a pretty neat place to go as well. All right. And Richard says, we try to stay at the Moana whenever we can. Had to cancel last October's vacation. Yeah, so I didn't mention this as a place to stay, but there's a Ala Moana hotel right at Ala Moana. So if you want to also stay away from the Waikiki craziness this night, you can stay there and head over to the beach park. Troy says, I liked it. Thanks for the live stream, socks and sandals guy. My pleasure, Troy. There's 112 likes now, so thank you for the 32 of you that have hit that like button. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's go ahead and continue on with our island tour. So we're no longer looking at the Lillyha Bakery. And we're going to go ahead and zoom out. Here you see this is the Honolulu Airport. So you're coming into Oahu, you're going to be coming into Honolulu Airport right here, and it is right next to Pearl Harbor. When you fly into Honolulu Airport, you can generally see Pearl Harbor as you fly over it. Pearl Harbor has three main things to see. There is the let's see, the most famous thing for sure is the USS Arizona Memorial, site of the bombing. To get to the Arizona Memorial, you have to take a boat, so you got to get tickets and a reservation to do that. If you just want to visit the park to look at it, you don't need tickets or reservations to do that. But the other cool thing that maybe not a lot of people think of, because everybody's trying to go to this USS Arizona Memorial, is to see the battleship Missouri, the Mighty Mo. It's a old battleship that now you can go on and explore. So I'd encourage you, if you like naval history, to check out the battleship Missouri. All right. Now, there was a question about the outlet mall, and as we head over here to the left of Pearl Harbor, then there's an outlet mall here, which are these premium outlets. And the question was, maybe, are they worth exploring? If you're really starved for outlets, you could check them out. If you've been to other outlet malls and other places, then I would just give this one a miss, honestly. If you're looking for malasadas, which are Portuguese-style donuts, which are classic in Oahu, I've found the Leonard's truck to sometimes be in the parking lot of this premium outlet mall, or parking lots around here. So you could consider that. Okay, now we're gonna make our way over this way to Kapolei, which is on the way to Koalina, and I simply mention this as kind of this is the center of new development in Oahu. There's a new Target over here, there's a new Costco over here, there's a new Zippy's over here. So if you're looking to check out some new and fresh chains, you can check them out here. There's also Wet and Wild Hawaii over here, which is Oahu's water park. So you got kids, they want to go to water park, they can do that. But let's go ahead and check out Koalina. Koalina, these 4 man-made lagoons that I talked about earlier. You don't just have to be staying here, but this is the Four Seasons. This is the Aulani. The Aulani has a really awesome pool in the center. This pool complex is absolutely amazing. And then on these other lagoons, it's not all built out, so this place is definitely going to get busier. But you could see here's some of the timeshares, the Marriott's Koalina Beach Club. You can see there's almost zero parking on these streets. They really kind of like to keep it that way. But in front of Lagoon 4, there's a big public parking lot. So if you want to drive here and check these out yourself, you can come down to Lagoon 4, park here, and you can walk your way back along this beachfront boardwalk. There was a question earlier from Jake McShane about luau's. There are 2 luau's near Koalina. There's Germain's Luau, and there's also Paradise Cove Luau. So those are 2 to check out. I think Paradise Cove gets a lot of the people that stay in Koalina. I've heard Germain's Luau as the most locals luau, though I doubt that any locals actually go to Germain's. And then looking back at the island of Oahu, I'm going to zoom way far out for this. There's this western shore of Oahu where most tourists really don't make it past Koalina. If you're adventuresome, take a drive up here to Makaha, see some famous surf spots and beaches that are out here. But this is pretty not densely developed. You cannot drive all the way around the island. The farthest you can drive, there's a gate eventually that you'll get stuck at if you come this way. You could hike around it, but you can't drive all the way around the island. So just a pro tip if you're planning to do that. All right, we're going to go ahead and head up to the North Shore and talk about what's there. But let's go ahead and take a look in the chat and see the comments. Seth agrees about Germain, says Germain's is the most authentic experience. Kathy says Aulani has a luau as well. I'm curious, Kathy, have you been to Aulani's luau? If so, did you like it? Jack says, is it generally an expensive destination? I would say, Oahu is generally expensive. Koalina is probably more expensive than Waikiki, too. Seth, Zippy's, we talked about Zippy's earlier. We did not talk about Pancake House. which is a Hawaiian pancake chain. I recommend it. Get the macadamia nut pancakes. Those are my favorite. And the Mac wants to know where the active volcano is. It's on a different island, not on Oahu. It's on the Big Island, or the island actually called Hawaii. And Narrow Road says, just to give the outlet mall a pass and head to the Aloha Swap Meet, which is at the stadium on Oahu, if you're looking for souvenirs. And John Boy says, when he stayed at the Hilton last month, no restaurant was open or bars, no Friday night fireworks either. I know, because not as many people are coming, which not everything's open, but I'm sure it will be open again. And KevBot gives a second to the Battleship Missouri being worth the time. Thank you for that, Kevin. And Henry wants to know, Chris, what's your favorite Hawaiian island? I got a whole video about what's the best Hawaiian island. The one I go to the most is Oahu. So if you decide favorite based on the one I go to the most, it's Oahu, because we like the food. Trainee wants to know how many times I've been to Hawaii. At least 10, maybe more, but at least 10. And Jake says, do you recommend Oahu for first-time visitors to Maui? I recommend either Oahu or Maui, depending upon what people want to go see the most. If people like food and like liveliness and like other people, then I recommend Oahu. If people just want to go to the beach and vegetate at the beach and not see many other people, then I recommend Maui. Okay. So we're going to head over to the North Shore next, and to get to the North Shore, there's the shore over here. To get to the North Shore, well, you can't see my mouse. Here's my mouse. Right, the North Shore is this shore that's over here. There's basically one road that'll get you up there from Pearl Harbor. You take this road, and you take that north. And you'll pass kind of some military installations, and then you will get to let's click in here. You will get to the Dole Plantation. The Dole Plantation is super touristy, but I think it's kind of cool because you can get Dole Pineapple Whip. You can go through like a pineapple maze. It's just, if nothing else, I would say stop there for like 30 minutes on your way to the North Shore and take in everything that is the touristy Dole Plantation. And then continue on your way to the North Shore up this road. You kind of go up a hill and then you drop in. You pass a bunch of farmland to Haleiwa Town as the main town on the North Shore. It's not very big. It's not very hustle and bustling. But the North Shore is famous for beaches and big waves. You will find beaches here like Sunset Beach, the Bonsai Pipeline. When I'm here, I really like to eat at Giovanni's Shrimp Truck. They've got a couple locations on the North Shore, but they've got super good garlic shrimp if you're out here. They've also got a new location in H Mart in Honolulu, closer to Waikiki, so you could check that out as well. But if you want the originals, check out them on the North Shore. This is my thumbnail. If you want to see more about it, you can see my whole video all about the Giovanni's Shrimp Truck. And if you're looking for shave ice, there's two competing shave ice places. There's Matsumoto's and Aoki's. I think they're both good, but that's where some of the best shave ice is, or at least the most famous shave ice is. Seth says, the North Shore, Ted's Bakery, and Ray's Broiled Chicken is a must. Thank you for those tips, Seth. Let's see. Okay, we're going to talk about the Polynesian Cultural in a second, Polynesian Cultural Center, but Yanni says make a reservation. All right, thank you for that tip. So let's go ahead and get over to the Polynesian Cultural Center, which is, people always ask me, Chris, what's your favorite luau? Where should I go? You should go around the island this way down to here for the Polynesian Cultural Center. The Polynesian Cultural Center is kind of like a Polynesian themed theme park that tries to be educational as well. So you can come here just for the luau and just for the nighttime show. This area is the Polynesian Cultural Center. This is where they do the nighttime show, but it's actually really hard to describe. But I would encourage you to just like go there the whole day, take in all the different cultural activities and little mini shows that they have, and then definitely stay for the nighttime show. You can book the luau if you want to do that. You can also book their dinner buffet. I actually prefer the dinner buffets to luau. I find luau's personally to be slow and boring. But I think this is one can't miss thing on Oahu is the Polynesian Cultural Center. And Christian says on the North Shore, the Sunset Beach has the famous crooked palm tree, and Lanakea Beach has a lot of sea turtles, the hanu. Thanks for those tips. Yenny says, I reserved in advance. I went and couldn't get in. I assume you went and you couldn't get in because you didn't reserve in advance. And I think this is maybe a pandemic thing because they're limiting capacity. Previously in the past, they've had tons of space. Okay. Now I want to take you to someplace in the middle of the island, which is the Pali Lookout. So there aren't many roads that'll take you from the west side of Oahu to the east side of Oahu, but along this highway called the Pali Highway, and I'm going to zoom out so you can see this a little bit more. This is the Pali Highway that runs from Honolulu back over here, and there's a cool lookout right here. You can see as we zoom in, there's like this big ridge on either side, but from here you can see down into the lush green area of this, and you can see into these other beaches. So I'd encourage you to stop and check that out. I think it's also currently closed due to COVID, but I'm sure that will be reopened again, probably when you're planning your trip for, because I don't believe a lot of you are watching this and going tomorrow. I believe most of you who watch this will watch the archive and go later on sometime. Joe in the chat says Dole Pineapple and put a pineapple, so that was cool to see. Couple more beaches to check out over here. Kailua has kind of a famous beach, and then Lanakai Beach as well down here. These are two very relaxed beaches, not a lot of hustle and bustle, very white sandy beaches, and really clear water over on the east shore of Oahu, which is known as the windward Oahu. You'll hear the term windward and leeward side of the islands. The windward side is this side of the island, the east side of the island. The wind comes on the island this way and then goes to the other side of the island. Okay, and then as we round this corner over here, then we'll get to Oahu's south shore. Here on this corner, there's Sea Life Park, so if you're looking to see dolphins and penguins and that sort of stuff, you can check those out there. There's a neat lighthouse on the corner, so if you're looking for hikes, you can check that out. There's a viewpoint over here. Along this coast, there's a beach called Sandy Beach that I actually want to zoom in on. Sandy Beach is famous for body surfing, so if you like body surfing and you're really seasoned about it, then check out Sandy Beach, most famous beach for body surfing. Really strong shore break. Be super careful. People have broken their necks at Sandy Beach. Don't say I didn't warn you. It's not for casual body surfers. And then right here, there's the Helona Blowhole, a natural blowhole where the waves come in, water spouts out the top. That's one of my favorite things to see on Oahu. Everybody loves the Helona Blowhole. And that's in front of this other volcanic crater, the Coco Crater. There's another hike you can do up the Coco Crater. I'm not sure if we can see it well here on I think it's right in here, but there's actually a staircase that runs up this crater, so you can take the staircase from the bottom of the crater to the top of the crater. I recently had a friend do this, and she said she really felt like she was almost going to die on it because it was so difficult, and she wasn't used to the heat and humidity. She really contemplated her life's decisions going up the Coco Crater thing. And then finally, Hanauma Bay. No video about Oahu would be complete without talking about Hanauma Bay. This is the most well-known place for snorkeling in Hawaii. It is excellent for snorkeling. Really shallow water, lots to see here. There is an admission fee to go in. You have to watch like a video to tell you not to step on the coral. It's closed certain days, but if you can get in to snorkel in Hanauma Bay, I'd recommend it for the sort of beginning, perhaps to intermediate snorkelers.
Fellow explorers, it is now Q&A time. If you've got a question, I've got an answer.
All right, we've got a few minutes left, so I want to take some Q&A while we've got time here. And Christian Perry comment says, did the Stairway to Heaven in March, which is this like famous staircase that was built by the military on the tops of these ridges, and Christian says it was the most incredible incredible day of his life. Thank you for that, Christian. I'm sure that was an epic hike. Esther says, I'm marking these on my Google Maps. That's a good perspective. That's what we always do. We have a whole bunch of pins on our Google Maps as the things we like and go to. May points out the blowhole, don't get too close. That's a good tip. Express for Life says, what software are you using? How are you able to type in locations on the island? Are you using an older version of Google Maps? I am using Google Earth. So this is the Google Earth download client that I'm using to do all the zoom-ins. Brooklyn says, is there an airport shuttle to hotel? There are some shared shuttles. Taxis aren't really that expensive. I generally offer the taxi. It's usually about $30 from the airport to Oahu. Candy asked favorite hotel in Oahu. I named a few before, but if I had to pick one of all the hotels I've picked, it would be the Four Seasons over in Koalina. That's just a special hotel. Special hotel because the room's really big. I should say the Four Seasons was built by a Japanese company, and so it's like it was built as like this mega resort. The Japanese company no longer owns it. It was a Marriott. Now it's a Four Seasons. It's got like manta rays and koi fish ponds throughout the hotel. It has a really good Hawaiian relaxing resort vibe to it. MP says, Chris taught me that if we like the video to click on the thumbs up once. If you don't like the video, click thumbs down twice. Thank you for that, MP. I appreciate it. Esther says, what's the worst time to go to Hawaii? I don't know if there is a worst time to go to Hawaii, but, Hawaii has a couple seasons. There's, generally we don't think of summer, spring, fall, this and that, but there's the rainy season and the dry season. So the rainy season in Oahu is mid-November through late March. That's when you're going to encounter the most rain. So if you don't like rain, you like to be outside, then maybe not mid-November through March. Though I will say, I actually think a good time to go is at the beginning of the rainy season. It's like after Thanksgiving, before Christmas. If you go sort of the first couple weeks of December, nobody's there. The snowbirds haven't gotten frozen on the east coast of the U.S., so they aren't coming yet. People aren't on Christmas break. Room rates are generally pretty low, and there aren't too many people the first couple weeks of December. Christian asks, what's my favorite beach on Oahu? I like the beaches of Koalina. They're man-made, but they're pretty nice. They're pretty relaxing. I like to snorkel there too. They've kind of got everything that I want. So the beaches of Koalina, though the sand is less than ideal. It's more coarse because it's man-made. I like the sand over on Kailua or Lanikai beaches. And Narrow Road says, we've stayed in Honolulu. Next time, would you recommend staying in Koalina or the North Shore at Turtle Bay? It depends how remote you want, but I will say, judging by your there's nothing little Starbucks or Disney can't fix, judging that you like Disney, I would probably say to stay in Koalina. If you really just kind of want to get away from it and get away from stuff even more, the North Shore. North Shore is more remote. Koalina still has a bit of a resort feel. The hotels are connected by kind of a sidewalk that goes to all the lagoons. The North Shore is a lot more undeveloped.
Yes, it's the time you've been waiting for. It's time for the giveaway.
Fellow explorers, it is time where I give away a Yellow Productions cruise shirt to someone who answers one of my questions correctly. And if you answer this question, I will send you Yellow Productions cruise shirt anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. And my question to you, and this is going to be the first one that comes up on my screen. Many of you are probably going to get this right, and so you're going to think you did it first. It takes a little while to get through YouTube and get to me, so the first one I see is the person who gets it. And I will say, how many Tophers behind me are wearing leis? If If you were the first person to answer that question, how many Tophers behind me are wearing Lay's special for this live stream, you will win a Yellow Productions cruise shirt. While you're typing your answers, we will take one more question. Trini wants to know if it's true that Hawaii is very similar to New Zealand. Have you ever visited? If not, would you like to go? I have never been to New Zealand, so I can't tell you how similar they are. I would like to go. So that's maybe not a if not why. Henry says, Chris, I hope you can have a detailed vacation planning guide on the Big Island. I've never been to the Big Island, and so that's going to be a little bit of a harder one.
And now we have a winner chicken dinner.
Okay, fellow explorers, we have a winner. And that winner, the first person to show up on my screen with the right number, is Gilberto. Congratulations, Gilberto. 2 times in 2 weeks, I think, for Gilberto. So congratulations. You win a Yellow Productions cruise shirt or maybe another item since you've already got one. You can send me an email in the description. Message me on Facebook. I think you probably know how to get in touch with me already. And if you didn't win one, well, then you can pick one up on the Yellow Productions store. You will find a link to my Etsy shop in the description of this video. And if you want to know when is the next live stream, well, just head over to update.yellowproductions.com and you can subscribe to my email list right over there. Our Traveling Princess really encourages you to do that because that's when you'll get the latest and greatest information live streams. We do them most weeks on Tuesdays at 4:45 LA time, but not always, and so when things change, you'll want to know there. If you sign up there, you'll get a heads up a couple days before as to what the topic is going to be. Well, as usual, we won't say goodbye because we'll see you in the next video. Usually this is smoother because I don't have to put a hand and go over here, but now I do.